Hello friends, I am Arpit and now I am here with the second part of Yojana for the month of August 2024. Now in the previous segment, we covered two topics. One was about the cellular jail, the saga of resistance, which was basically a jail in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Port Blair, and basically it was solitary confinement, a rigorous imprisonment which was aimed by the Britishers to give to those people who were too much, I would say, into these kind of things like opposing the Britishers and all. Second was Jambudweep Proclamation, which technically speaking was the first war of independence because the people in the Ramanathapuram province they revolted against the Britishers and they led a collective fight against them, although they lost. But yes, that was a Jambudweep proclamation made by them. Jambudweep technically refers to India. In this particular segment, we are going to discuss two topics. First is untold stories of freedom struggle from Northeast India, and second is contribution of Indian languages to the freedom movement. So let's get started with the first, that is untold stories of freedom struggle from Northeast India. When we talk about Northeast India's participation in the Indian freedom movement, we don't hear any great stories or big stories or glorified stories. Some political experts also say that the people of Northeast did not identify themselves with India. The feeling of nationalism was not too much developed over there. And that is why they had been talking about separatism right from the very beginning. And that separatism led to phenomenons like insurgency creeping in. Like, for example, the Nagas, they declared independence for themselves on 14th of August 1947. And they did not identify themselves with India. They said that we want to form a separate country, that is Nagaland. But there were many freedom fighters who participated from the Northeast and their stories have been untold. In this segment, we are going to tell you their story, their contributions in the freedom struggle of the country. Now, some important personalities. First is Bhogeshwari Phokanani, 1885 to 1942. She lived. Background: she was a courageous freedom fighter from Assam. Phokanani was actively involved in Quit India movement 1942, despite her responsibilities as a mother of 8 children. See the high amount of birth rate at that time. Key contributions: she played a significant role in liberating Congress office in Behrampur, Assam from the British control. Sacrifice: Phukanani was shot by the British police and died 20 days later, demonstrating immense bravery and commitment to India's freedom. So that is why her death 1942. Second, U. Tirot Singh. U. Tirot Singh was again a very brave fighter. He belonged to the Khasi tribes of Meghalaya. So that basically bravery has earned this, place over here to U. Tirot Singh. He was from the Khasi tribe, resisted British expansion into the Khasi hills. His resistance was triggered by the British attempt to build a road through the region without fulfilling their promises. He adopted guerrilla warfare, which is an irregular form of warfare in which you hide and attack, hit and run. These kind of irregular tactics are adopted. Despite being young, Tirot Singh led a guerrilla war against the British for 4 years. He was eventually captured and imprisoned in Dhaka, where he died, leaving behind a legacy of resistance. Third is Shurveer Pasaltha Kuangchera, 1850 to 1890. Historical role: a legendary figure in Mizoram. Pasaltha Kuangchera was the first Mizo leader to resist British invasion. So Mizoram was part of Assam, Mizo Hills, Lushai Hills, the southeastern part of Assam it was. Rebellion: he fought valiantly against the British forces in the Lushai Hills in 1890 and died in that battle. Despite his significant contributions, his legacy is less recognized nationally. But yes, he was one among the first Mizo fighters against the Britishers. Next is Rani Gaidinliu. Though basically name of this freedom fighter was mentioned by the Prime Minister also in last year's Independence Day speech. Early activism: at the age of 16, Rani Gaidinliu initiated a movement against British rule in the Naga Hills. Imprisonment and release: captured and sentenced to life imprisonment, she was released after India's independence. When I talk about her post-independence work, she continued working for the upliftment of her community and was awarded the Padma Bhushan for her contributions later on. She died in 1993. Then next is Kanaklata Barua. She was active from 1924 to 1942. It seems that she also lost her life during the Quit India movement. At just 17, Barua was involved in Quit India movement. She was shot dead by the British police while attempting to hoist the national flag at a police station in Assam. Her sacrifice is commemorated as an emblem of youthful courage in the struggle for independence. Next is Moje Riba, a freedom fighter from Arunachal Pradesh. Riba was the first person to hoist the Indian tricolour in Deepa village on August 15, 1947. He was arrested for his involvement in Quit India movement and for distributing pro-independence pamphlets. So, but was released and you know celebrated independence over there in 1947. Next is Gomdhar Konwar, 1915 to 1942. Seems that this person also died in the Quit India movement. A key figure in Assam's independence struggle, Konwar was actively involved in the freedom movement during the 1940s. His role is in the Quit India movement. He mobilized youth against British rule and faced severe repression. His bravery during the Quit India movement is remembered, with various institutions named in his honor over there. Next is Mungri. Early 20th century, Mungri is recognized as one of the first female martyrs in the Indian freedom movement. She actively participated in protests against the British oppression and lost her life during one such protest. The Government of India has honored her contributions through memorials and educational institutes named after her. And these are in northeast of India. Then next is Dhekiyajuli massacre of 1942 during the Quit India movement. Probably that has been. The Dhekiyajuli massacre involved British forces opening fire on unarmed protesters in Assam. It was kind of similar to the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Among the victims was a young boy who became known as India's youngest martyr. Memorials and commemorative events have been established to honor the victims and reflect their sacrifice. And next is Bom Singpo. A key figure in Arunachal Pradesh, Singpho organized local tribes against British rule and played a significant role in anti-colonial agitation. His efforts to unite various tribes laid the groundwork for future movements, and his contributions are preserved through government initiatives. So, this is there in Arunachal Pradesh. Next is Thangal General, Thangal Sardar. He was a resistance leader prominent in Manipur during the first Anglo-Manipur War. Thangal General led guerrilla warfare against the British forces. He is celebrated in Manipur for his leadership and resistance, with several institutions and events commemorating his contributions. Next is Ka Phan Nonglat, an important figure in Meghalaya's freedom movement. She led protests against British policies and was known for her fearless spirit. Her contributions have been recognized by the state government with memorials and educational programs dedicated to her legacy. So, she was also there. Next is Ropui Liani from Mizoram, was actively involved in anti-colonial struggle, organizing local communities against the British rule. Government has honored his contribution through various commemorations and educational initiatives. And next is Sachendra Lal Singh, influential leader from Tripura. Singh was active in mobilizing the masses against the British rule. His contributions to the freedom struggle have been acknowledged through memorials and educational institutions. Now, to conclude, we can say that common perception which has been built that Northeast did not contribute too much in freedom struggle is shattered. We've seen so many contributions from Northeast, and the most notable part is that many females have contributed from Northeast of India in the freedom struggle. Many of them have contributed during the later phase, that is in the 1940s and all, during the Quit India movement. But a contribution is a contribution, whether it comes early or it comes late. So let us not forget these contributions. Now, the next is contribution of Indian languages to the freedom movement. Now, how do you mobilize the masses? How do you make them believe that bhai, the Britishers are oppressing you? You need to spread a word, and for spreading a word, media is the source. Electronic media was not that much developed at that time. Radios were getting developed, so people, they utilized radios. Like many people, like Bachendri Pal and all, they opened radios during the 1942 Quit India movement. But before that, the 19th century, 1800s and all, this time, how did you spread your word? People spread their word through pamphlets, through newspapers, and those too written in vernacular languages. Because people will understand vernacular language only. They will not understand English. The literacy rates of India, you know how they were. And if, people had to be mobilized in masses, they had to be influenced, they had to be told the reality. And media was one such way. And in the media, vernacular language was one such way, because that was the language of the masses. And that is the role what language has played in our freedom movement. The Indian freedom struggle was a multifaceted movement driven not only by political and social leaders, but also by the rich linguistic and cultural diversity of the country. Languages have played a crucial role in mobilizing people and promoting a sense of unity among the diverse population of the country. Now, historical aspect, British colonial expansion. British East India Company established its dominance through key battles such as Plassey and Buxar. Although it was there as an, I would say, commercial company, but it had other intentions, that is political domination as well. The first war of independence, 1857 technically we call it, but in the last video we saw that the war which happened in 1801 after that Jambu Dweep declaration. But yes, largely speaking, though, we consider 1857 as the first war of independence, which ignited widespread resistance and fueled desire for liberation from British rule. Role of printing press over here. Introduction of the printing press in Goa in 1576, it was introduced, significantly contributed to the spread of nationalist ideas. The first Indian newspaper, the Bengal Gazette, was released in 1780, enabled educated Indians to voice their patriotic sentiments. Emergence of nationalist newspapers, figures like Bal Gangadhar Tilak used newspapers such as Kesari to critique British policies, often facing imprisonment for their outspoken views. The power of language, vernacular literature. Nationalist literature utilized local languages to reach and resonate with the masses. British recognized the threat posed by such literature. Britishers, although could not understand it, but yes, they had people who could make them understand. So they understood the threat from this, and that is why in the year 1878, Vernacular Press Act was passed, which was aimed at suppressing dissent from the vernacular press. But fortunately, 3 years down the line, in 1881, this act was repealed, leading to resurgence of nationalist sentiment through literature. Rajaram Mohan Roy was a key figure in social reforms in the country as well as in mobilizing the masses. A prominent figure in the national press movement, Roy published Sambad Comedy in Bengali, which played a key role in promoting unity among the Indians. Influential literary figures, Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. His novel Anandmat 1882 is renowned for the song Vande Mataram, which became a slogan for the independence. His work Devi Chaudrani 1884 inspired women to participate in the struggle for freedom. That was very much needed because almost half of the population was women, and if they remain out of the freedom struggle, it is going to be a problem. Bhartendu Harishchandra, regarded as the father of modern Hindi literature, has played, you know, a prominent role because of his plays and poems laid the foundation for Hindi nationalism. Rabindranath Tagore, a Nobel laureate, Tagore's literary contributions include novels like Gora in 1909, Ghare Baire 1916, which explored the themes of nationalism. He also composed India's national anthem, Janaganaman, later, and Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Through his newspapers Maratha and Kesari, Tilak became a significant voice of freedom movement, and he led movements like the Swadeshi movement and all. Now, revolutionary literature, which revolutionized the people. Anushilan Samiti is one of them. This organization published newspapers that galvanized public sentiment against colonial rule, reflecting the revolutionary spirit of the time. V.D. Savarkar, his work The Indian War of Independence 1909 redefined the 1857 revolt as the first war of independence. Indian diaspora contributions were also there. Publications such as Hindustan Gadar and Circulari Azadi, this was during the Gadar movement in North America, played a significant role in expressing anti-colonial sentiments abroad. Social commentary through literature, addressing social evils. Definitely people like Rajaram Mohan Roy and all, they were also part of this. But This period also tackled social issues alongside political freedom. Works like Mulk Raj Anand's Untouchable 1935 and Sarat Chandra Chattopadhyay's Patthar Dabi in 1926 highlighted the need for social justice and equality as well. They were talking about the oppressed sections of the society in India by the Indians only. So that was basically there. So the literary works focused upon oppression by the Britishers on the Indians and oppression by the upper caste Indians on the lower caste Indians as well. Mahatma Gandhi's writings, Gandhiji's Hind Swaraj 1938 emphasized the importance of self-rule and moral integrity in the fight for independence. So this was also there. Now, to conclude, we can say that, you know, a lot of wars or a lot of battles are won through pen as well. And this was one such battle in which the pen, that is the press, in vernacular language contributed significantly. The Britishers have been, weeded out of the country, but unfortunately, the caste-based oppression still remains to be active in the country. This needs to be tackled as well. And definitely, press, which is basically free and fair press, no TRPs nowadays, is going to definitely contribute in the developmental journey of the country significantly. So, with this, I come to an end of this particular session. I will be meeting you in the next session now of the Yojana. That is going to be the last session where we will be talking about the contributions in Bengal by the nationalists. Till then, stay tuned. Namaste. Jai Hind.